Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Wan Abdul Rahim bin Wan Abdul Aziz, 1720874/1. Today, I want to talk about what is the difference between Islamic economy and capitalism economy. Okay, first of all, capitalism is an economic system based on the private ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange. Capitalism is an economic and social system that tends to the accumulation of wealth by individuals without government interference and with the aim of profit. The definition of an individual here does not necessarily refer to an individual, but it also includes a groups like company or corporates. The capitalist economy system is driven by market forces in determining production, cost, pricing of goods and services, investment, and incomes. Critics of the capitalist system argue that the system creates a significant gap of difference between the wealth and the poor, while Islamic economy is a system implies a mode of satisfying the economic the needs of the needy in the guidance of Quran and Sunnah. I pick from the Umar Chapra in one of the scholar in Islam. He said that Islamic economy is a knowledge which helps to realize human well-being through an allocation and distribution of scarce resources that it is in conformity with Islamic teachings without unduly curbing individual freedom or creating continued macroeconomics and ecological imbalances. So we understand here that the main point between capitalism and Islamic economy is Islamic economy has a guidance that is Quran and Sunnah, while capitalism, the guidance, they don't have any guidance. The guidance is the wealth itself. They tend to make themselves richer and richer and more richer, not like our like Islam economy. We tend to make the needy. We tend to help the needy uh, in in a better way, like zakat, infak, sadaqah, and so on. Now I will talk about a bit of the history of capitalism. Capitalism comes from the word capital in English, which means capital. The term capitalism was first introduced in the mid-19th century by Karl Marx, which is the founder of communism. Free markets and market system are among the terms that are often interchanged with capitalism to describe a non-communist modern economy. Capitalist economy practices strengthened in England. They started in England between the 16th century and to 19th century. However, capitalist characteristics have existed before that, especially among the merchants of the Middle Age. Capitalism has become dominant in the West since the end of the feudal era. From England, capitalism spread throughout the Europe in 19th century and spread among the world until now. What we see now in capitalism in Malaysia, in Indonesia, and many more around the world. Okay, now we go to the characteristic of capitalism. There are three main characteristics of capitalism. The first is individual freedom, and the second is self-interest, and the third is free market. Okay, these three are the main characteristic of the capitalism economy. In capitalism, we have the right to sell or lend goods or services, and others also have the right to buy or borrow those goods or services. Society in genuine capitalist economy does not need to get a permission from a king nor from the government. So this is called the free market. The concept of capitalist economics was introduced by Adam Smith in his book The Wealth of Nations. This free market is a good thing for capitalists. They can control the market, and they can monopoly the market, and also they can accumulate the goods or the services. The word capitals for goods or money that a person owns can be used to produce more goods and earn more money. For example, land, factories, tools, shops, and machines are capital. If a person has money and that can be invested in all of that, and this is called capital as well, because they has money, or they have tools, factories. That is what we call capital. Those who have the capital, we are call them capitalists, and they can hire workers to work at their shop, factories, and lands. Okay, this concept is quite different from feudalism. A worker or a servant works for their landlord, but for capitalism, the worker works for their company or for their individuals group. For it is for their self-interest, not for their what we call that. Not it's not the same as feudalism. That is the first is free market, and then the second is self-interest, and lastly the individual freedom. Individual freedom. Everyone can do business and everyone can invest in anything. When we have capital or we have money, we can invest that. We can invest and make money freely without any uh, without any stop from the government. Why Islam reject capitalism so much? The first, the antagonic attitude of the Muslim society towards capitalism is caused by several things. Muslim community very hate capitalism because of several things. The first is a bitter experience of Muslim countries such as Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, and so on, have faced colonialism for several centuries, making the Muslim community reject whatever came from the colonial countries, especially capitalism. Colonialism is considered as a form of implementation of capitalistic economic system. This is why one of the main rejection of Islam and the Muslim society reject the capitalism. And second, the existing materialistic attitude in the capitalist system is considered dangerous for the Islamic faith, which emphasize life after death. In capitalism economic, they tend to work, they tend to get the money for their self-interest, not for others, or not for the needy, or the fakir, the fuqara, or the yatimain. That is not one of the main characteristic for capitalism. But for Islam, this is the main point for Islamic economy. We must emphasize and help the needy, and we have uh, faith that is life after death is important. Everything that we do in this world will be punished in the after death. That's akhirah. And the third one is capitalism is considered to legalize and encourages a hedonistic culture, something that is inappropriate and despicable within the Islamic community life. In the capitalism system, there is so much hedonistic between in the capitalism economy. And the fourth, capitalism is considered to be the main factor of inequality and economic decline in the Muslim community today. Moreover, capitalism is considered to have no social sensitivity. Okay, this is what I want to press. The capitalism does not support or does not have social sensitivity. They tend to work for themselves, and tend to make more money for themselves only, not for the sake of others. This is one in the Quran. and Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbid us. We must work and give the what we have to the needy or to the faqir. After we have talked about why Muslim reject the capitalism and why Islam reject the capitalism, now we talk about four principles of a good economic system. The first is suffice for every individual in the society. The second is destroy all such causes and means that lead to corruption. The third, discourage concentration of wealth in the hand of individual or group. This is capitalism. And the fourth is bring a proper balance between capital and labor. There are four good principles of there are four good economic system. Four principles of good economic system. Uh, and now I want to talk about the Islamic economic characteristic. Islamic economic characteristic. The first one is Allah is the sustainer. One of the core components of Islamic economic system is the concept of God, who is the provider of all things. According to Islamic belief, God has created all the sources for humans. As a matter of fact, God has responsible for feeding them and nourishment all of his creatures as well as human beings. Islam not only do not recommend sitting idle of Muslims for their sustenance, but also encourages a person to do his best in every work and to earn his livelihood by using all lawful that is halal and fair means. The second is the God is the real owner, and the man is only a trustee. That is a khilafah. That is a khalifa. The heavens and all the universe belongs to God, and the God itself is the main is the real owner for everything. In Islam we call it istikhlaf. We human only istikhlaf, or we only khalifa. We only take care of the human being, we take care of the things that Allah give us. And then after we die, Allah will ask us what we have do with our economic system, what we have do with our wealth, what we have do in with our young age, what we have do with our economy. And the third is prohibition of interest. The prohibition of interest, riba, we call it riba, is the main component of the capitalism system. Capitalism system, they get more richer and more richer with the applied of interest, with the apply of riba. This is very prohibited in Islam, because in Islam we very prohibit in riba, as Allah say in the Quran, wa ahallallahu al-bay' wa harrama riba. So in this ayah, Allah tell us that riba is haram and buying things is halal. Okay. As narrated by Al-Bukhari, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a dirham of usury a man divorced with knowledge is greater than the 36 fornication. Okay, so we know the riba is absolutely haram in Islam. And the fourth Islamic economic characteristic is policy of moderation. Not only Islam does not has a radical policy, but also follow the middle way and abstain from extremes. The two extremes about action are bad and moderation. Islam is a uh, moderate and tolerate religion. We do not forbid the the Muslims from getting rich or something like that, because we must treat all human fair and square. That's why we have a nice system in our economic. And then a hadith from Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated by Imam Al-Bukhari, moderation is expenditure is half of livelihood, and love for people is half of wisdom, and good questioning is half of learning. And the fifth, the equity and not equality. According to Islamic beliefs, production and distribution of wealth should be equal, fair, and follow the justice. The ownership is legal and should be for livelihood. Although capitalism economic system states, like other natural things, which there is no equality among human beings. This is the main characteristic of the Islamic economy. Islamic economy is suppress the equity is everything, not the equality, because uh, when the fuqara, when the fakir, or the miskin, the masakin cannot make money, so the richer, or the men with more wealth must help the fuqara. As stated in the Quran, إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين وعليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل. These are all the individuals that must be helped from the Muslim that has more wealth from others. Okay, and the last one is ban on hoarding of wealth. Islam has condemned the hoarding of everything in order to make profit in very clear terms, and those who hoard their wealth have been threatened with going to hell. Besides, Islam do not encourage hoarding of wealth and try to motivate people for circulation of wealth among all part of society. Islam very banned on hoarding of wealth. Islam prohibits the accumulate of wealth into one bin. So that's why in Islam we have zakat, because in zakat we can distribute the wealth fairly and squarely. In zakat we help the needy, and that is the main characteristic that Islam have and not other religion have. As we look at the table, as I showed here, Islamic economists and the differences between Islamic economics and capitalist economy. Islamic economic sources from the Quran and Sunnah and Ijtihad, and capitalist economic source from the mind and human experience. And the second one, Islamic economics is holistic worldview, and the capitalist economy has a secular worldview. And the third, individual ownership of the money or capital is relative. Capitalist economy, the individual ownership of the capital, or they say that money is absolute. The fourth is market mechanism works by maslahah. Maslahah is the main point of Islamic economics. And capitalism economy, market mechanism is allowed to work alone. And the fifth, competition in the business is controlled by the Sharia law, or by the Sharia, or by the Quran and Sunnah. Business competition is free and childbirth monopoly. Well-being is physical, spiritual, and sense. Welfare is jasadiyah. And then recognize through the profit motive means that halal. Recognize the profit motive without any restriction applicable. This is prohibited in Islam, because we have Sharia law that is prohibit Muslim from doing riba or from doing anything wrong with the wealth. Active government is a supervisor, controller, and a fair referee in economic activity. And this capitalist economy, government as a neutral passive spectators in economic activity. This we call free market. And the last one, application of the income distribution, unknown equitable income distribution. Okay, that is the differences between Islamic economics and capitalist economics.